The warrior did not lose because he was weak. He lost because his mind wandered. In the ancient mountains of Japan, discipline was not a concept, it was survival. A single lapse of presence meant death. A single moment of distraction meant the blade arrived before thought could follow. And yet, centuries later, we face a more silent enemy. One that does not roar, one that does not strike all at once. It whispers, it pulls, it fragments the spirit. Distraction is not harmless, it is not neutral, it is a slow erosion of strength, a quiet theft of mastery. The ancient warrior knew this. The Stoics knew this. Zen monks built entire systems to protect the mind from it. Not because silence was holy, but because focus was power. This is a story of a young warrior walking a path he believes will bring him strength. He trains hard, he sharpens his body, but his spirit is scattered, his ego hungry, his attention divided. And so, despite effort, he remains weak where it matters most. Under the guidance of a mentor who speaks little and observes much, the warrior will confront an uncomfortable truth. The cost of distraction is paid in years, not moments, in presence lost, in fear multiplied, in potential never reached. This is not a story about productivity. It is a story about mastery, about silence as discipline, about attention as the ancient system of strength, and about the price every modern warrior pays without realizing when the mind refuses to stand still. The morning bell echoed across the mountain compound, thin and metallic, cutting through mist like a blade drawn too fast. The young warrior rose before the sound had fully faded. His body was ready, strong, conditioned. Every muscle answered without delay. He had trained for years, running stone paths at dawn, striking wood until his palms split, memorizing forms passed down through an ancient system older than his name. By all visible measures, he was advanced. And yet, when steel met steel, something was always missing. His strikes were fast but hollow, his stance correct but unstable, his breath shallow, arriving late to every movement. Today was no different. In the courtyard, other warriors moved with fewer techniques but greater gravity. Their blades seemed heavier, though they were not. Their movements quieter, though they exerted more force. When they struck, the air obeyed. The young warrior noticed this and misunderstood it. He believed they simply knew something he did not. A secret grip, a superior method, another technique. So he collected knowledge the way a drowning man collects driftwood, grasping everything, mastering nothing. Different stances each week, different philosophies each month, different voices filling his head before every duel. Motion without stillness, effort without direction. From the shaded edge of the courtyard, the mentor observed. He did not correct the warrior's posture. He did not comment on his footwork. He did not interrupt the endless pursuit of more. The mentor had seen this before. A warrior fragmented by ambition, a spirit divided by noise, a blade cracked not by weakness but by excess. When the training match began, the flaw revealed itself instantly. The young warrior advanced aggressively, mind racing ahead of his body. His opponent waited, calm, present. One clean movement ended the exchange. The young warrior stumbled back, confused, not defeated, but exposed. Again and again. After the third loss, frustration crept into his breath. His jaw tightened, his ego whispered explanations. I wasn't ready. I tried a new form. Next time. But deep beneath the noise, another voice stirred, quieter, more dangerous. Why does effort not become strength? Later, alone by the weapon rack, the warrior wiped his blade longer than necessary. He replayed each failure, not the strikes, but the moments before them, the impatience, the rush, the scattered attention. His body had arrived late because his mind had never fully been there. This realization unsettled him. In ancient teachings, the blade was said to reflect the inner state. A fractured blade could not be sharpened further. It had to be reforged or abandoned. The mentor approached without sound. You train hard, he said finally. The warrior bowed, waiting for instruction, but none came. Instead, the mentor placed a hand lightly on the blade. Too many fires weaken the steel. And then he walked away. No explanation. No solution. Only a sentence heavy enough to follow the warrior into silence. That night, as wind moved through bamboo and the compound slept, the young warrior sat awake. His body ached, but his spirit ached more. For the first time, he sensed the invisible cost accumulating. Not in failure alone, but in the slow erosion of presence. He had been moving constantly, but he had not been standing anywhere. And in that growing stillness, fear began to reveal the reason his mind refused to stay. Sleep did not come easily. The warrior lay still, eyes open, listening to the rhythm of the mountain night. Wind through bamboo, a distant stream, the faint creak of wood cooling after days' heat. In the absence of training, of instruction, of noise, his mind grew restless. Thoughts multiplied. You are falling behind. Others are advancing faster. You need more knowledge, more intensity, more proof. He noticed something unsettling. When the world grew quiet, his thoughts grew loud, as if silence itself threatened him. This was not weakness of body, it was something else, something deeper. At dawn, before the bell, the warrior returned to the courtyard alone. No audience, no rivals. He drew his blade and moved through a familiar form. Slowly, painfully slowly, every step exposed imbalance, every breath revealed haste. Without momentum to hide behind, his instability became undeniable. The blade wavered, not in his hands but in intention. In ancient systems of combat, speed was never trained first. Presence was. Modern science would later give this a name: attentional control, neural coherence, parasympathetic regulation. But the ancients understood it without language. A divided mind recruits fewer motor units. Reaction time increases, precision collapses. The warrior did not know the science. He felt the truth. His body knew how to move, but his attention leaked, constantly pulled forward, outward, elsewhere. Each distraction weakened the signal between intention and action. Each mental fracture translated into physical inefficiency. Later that day, the mentor summoned him, not to train but to observe. They sat beneath an old pine overlooking the practice ground. The mentor said nothing. He simply gestured toward the warriors below. The young warrior watched closely this time, not for technique, but for state. He saw it then. The strongest warriors were not tense. The most skilled were not hurried. Their eyes were soft, their breath low. Their movements arose from stillness, not effort. "Why do they look calm?" the warrior finally asked. The mentor did not answer directly. "When water is disturbed," he said, "it reflects nothing." Silence returned. The warrior felt irritation rise, then confusion, then something more vulnerable. A realization he had avoided for years. Distraction had become his refuge. By staying busy, he avoided confronting inadequacy. By chasing improvement, he avoided facing fear. Fear of being enough. Fear of choosing one path and abandoning others. Fear of stillness exposing limits he could not outrun. That night he wrote nothing, practiced nothing. He sat. Minutes stretched, his legs burned, his thoughts attacked. Every instinct urged him to do something, to train, to distract, to escape. He stayed. In that forced stillness, another truth surfaced. Discipline had never failed him. He had never truly practiced it. Discipline was not intensity. It was commitment to presence, especially when discomfort arrived. The fractured blade was not his weapon. It was his attention. When the mentor returned the next morning, he found the warrior already seated, eyes lowered, breath slow. Not peaceful, not yet, but honest. The mentor nodded once. No praise, no correction, only acknowledgement. The first fracture had been seen, and what is seen at last can be reforged. And as the warrior learned to remain still, fear, long hidden beneath distraction, stepped fully into view. Fear did not arrive as panic. It arrived as motion. The warrior noticed it in the way his hands reached for tasks before thought formed, in the way he filled every pause with preparation. sharpening a blade that was already sharp, repeating forms long mastered, asking questions he did not truly want answered. When silence approached, he fled. Not outwardly, no one could accuse him of laziness. He was diligent, relentless, admirable. Yet beneath the surface, a quieter pattern ruled him. When the present moment asked for honesty, he escaped into activity. The mentor understood this language, so he changed nothing except the tempo of the days. Training slowed, drills were shortened, instructions grew fewer, long stretches appeared with nothing assigned, no objective, no metric, just time. The warrior's mind resisted immediately. Urgency invented itself. I should be doing something. Anxiety masqueraded as responsibility. This was fear's most effective disguise, not weakness but usefulness. The mind convinces itself it is protecting progress while quietly avoiding exposure. Ancient Zen texts warned of this. The ego fears stillness because stillness dissolves the story it tells about itself. Modern psychology confirms it. When stimulation drops, the default mode network activates, surfacing unresolved doubt and identity threat. The mind would rather scatter than see itself clearly. The mentor sent the warrior to the river. "Sit," he said, "until the water teaches you." No duration, no posture correction, no promise of insight. The warrior obeyed and suffered. Minutes stretched into an hour, sensations amplified. Itch, ache, the urge to stand. Thoughts surged like attackers from every direction. He planned future victories, replayed past failures, invented conversations, all to avoid the one thing asked of him: presence. Fear pressed closer. Not fear of danger, but fear of inadequacy. If he stayed still, he might discover limits he could not blame on circumstance. If he listened, he might hear doubt with no audience to impress. So his mind created urgency. This is unproductive. This is inefficient. Real warriors train. The mentor returned at dusk. "Did you learn?" he asked. The warrior hesitated. "I learned how loud my thoughts are." The mentor nodded. "Good, you are meeting the enemy." In ancient warrior disciplines, fear was never eliminated. It was studied, named, integrated. The Stoics taught that fear is judgment mistaken for fact. The Zen masters taught that fear dissolves when observed without resistance. Neuroscience would later add, sustained attention reduces amygdala reactivity. Presence weakens fear's grip at its source. But knowledge was not the point. Experience was. Over the following days, the trials continued. Watching clouds pass without counting time, holding posture as legs trembled, waiting for instructions that did not come. Each exercise removed a layer of distraction until fear had nowhere left to hide. The warrior began to see the pattern clearly. Distraction was not random. It appeared precisely where growth demanded surrender. It surged when ego felt threatened. Fear was not the obstacle to discipline. Fear was the reason discipline kept breaking. One evening, as the compound settled into shadow, the warrior spoke softly, not to the mentor, but to himself. "I'm afraid of being still." The words did not weaken him. They steadied him. The mentor, listening from the darkness, allowed a rare silence to stretch longer than usual. Fear had stepped into the light, and with fear exposed, the path forward led not to action, but into the trial of silence itself. The next morning, the warrior did not rise with urgency. This by itself felt dangerous. He noticed the impulse to rush, to reclaim the illusion of control through motion. Instead, he remained seated, breath low, spine upright, eyes half lowered. The mentor had not instructed him to do this. That mattered. The choice was his. Fear responded immediately, not with images of defeat, but with logic. "You are wasting time, others are training, stillness will make you soft." These thoughts carried the familiar tone of reason, but the warrior had learned to listen beneath the words. He felt the tightening in his chest, the shallow breath, the subtle contraction of attention. This was fear regulating behavior. Ancient warriors understood something modern men often forget. Fear is most powerful when it pretends to be useful. It does not say stop, it says hurry. It does not say hide, it says improve faster. The mentor approached and placed a bowl of water between them. "Do not move it," he said, "do not protect it." The task seemed meaningless, that was the point. Hours passed. Wind rippled the surface. Insects landed and lifted. The warrior's hand twitched once, then stilled. He saw how instinctively he wanted to intervene, to control, to prevent disruption. Fear again, fear of loss, fear of imperfection. In cognitive science, this impulse is called error monitoring. The brain's attempt to minimize uncertainty by constant correction. Left unchecked, it becomes anxiety. Ancient discipline addressed it differently, by refusing to react. The mentor broke the silence. "Fear is not your enemy," he said. "Your avoidance of it is." The warrior felt the words settle, not as insight, but as permission. Permission to stay, permission to feel, permission to let the moment be insufficient. That evening, the warrior trained again. Same forms, same blade, but something had shifted. He did not chase precision, he allowed it. He did not force calm. He noticed tension and remained anyway. His movement slowed, but grew heavier. Each strike carried weight not because of strength, but because attention no longer leaked ahead of action. Modern biomechanics would explain this as improved motor unit synchronization. The ancients simply called it being here. The mentor watched closely. "Discipline is not control," he said. "It is the courage to remain." The warrior bowed, not out of obedience but recognition. Fear still arose. Frequently, but now it was seen as a signal, not a command. When urgency appeared, he paused. When distraction tempted, he returned to breath. Each time, fear weakened, not because it was fought, but because it was no longer obeyed. Late that night, the warrior sat beneath the stars, the mountain vast and indifferent around him. For the first time, he did not feel small within it. He felt aligned. Fear had not vanished, but it no longer decided. The ancient system was revealing itself, not as a set of rules, but as a relationship with attention. Where the mind stays, the spirit follows. Where fear is faced, strength is forged. Tomorrow, the mentor would remove even this structure. Tomorrow, there would be silence, and the warrior would have to meet it without defense. Having learned to remain with fear, the warrior was now ready to enter the deeper trial, where silence would strip him of everything but presence. The mentor did not announce the trial. There was no ceremony, no warning, no explanation that would soften the mind in advance. One morning, as the compound stirred with familiar sounds, footsteps, steel, breath, the warrior was simply told to leave his blade behind. "You will not train," the mentor said. "You will not observe. You will not speak." The path led upward, away from the courtyard, into a cedar-lined ridge where sound thinned and time loosened its grip. A small hut waited there. Empty, clean, unforgiving. "This is where you remain," the mentor said, "until silence finishes its work." Then he left. At first, the warrior welcomed the stillness. His body rested, his wounds eased. He sat upright, confident that discipline would carry him through. He had already faced fear. He had learned restraint. This, he believed, would be simple. It was not. Within hours, the mind began to revolt. Thoughts rose without invitation, sharp, repetitive, insistent. Old conversations replayed. Imagined futures demanded rehearsal. Regret surfaced. Pride followed. Then doubt. Refs poured in, each insisting on attention, each louder than the last. The ego demanded stimulation like air. Modern neuroscience explains this well. When external input drops, the brain amplifies internal noise. The default mode network activates, generating self-referential thought to preserve identity. Ancient teachers observed the same phenomenon without machines. They warned that silence reveals what discipline has not yet touched. The warrior shifted his posture, adjusted his breath. Time dragged. He felt exposed. Without tasks, there was nothing to hide behind, no metric to chase, no opponent to blame. Just breath entering, breath leaving, again, again. By the second day, frustration hardened into resistance. His legs shook, his back ached, his thoughts mocked him. This is pointless. Real strength is forged in action. You are falling behind. Silence answered none of it. The warrior noticed something unsettling. His suffering did not come from pain alone. It came from refusal, from the constant demand that the moment be different, that time move faster, that meaning arrive immediately. In Stoic philosophy, this is the core error, confusing discomfort with harm. In Zen, it is called grasping. In modern psychology, it is experiential avoidance. Different languages, same fracture. The mentor did not return. On the third night, the warrior nearly broke. He stood abruptly, heart racing, every instinct screaming to descend the mountain and reclaim motion. His hand trembled, not from weakness, but from the force of habit being denied. He stopped, not because of discipline, but because something quieter had begun to emerge. A thin thread of awareness beneath the noise, a noticing. This urge is not me. This discomfort will crest and fall. He sat again, and for the first time, the thoughts did not vanish, but they lost authority. They arrived, announced themselves, and passed, like weather, like breath. Ancient masters described this moment simply: when the mind stops chasing, it begins to see. Neuroscience would later observe reduced amygdala activation, increased prefrontal regulation. But the warrior felt it directly. Space, not emptiness. Clarity. Silence was no longer an absence. It was a refining fire, burning away excess, leaving only what could endure. The warrior's posture settled naturally, breath deepened, attention sharpened, not forcefully but inevitably. Strength was not being added. It was being uncovered. And as silence stripped the warrior down to presence alone, the divided self began its final resistance. By the fifth day, time no longer behaved as it once had. The warrior could not say how long he sat. Hours passed, without measure. Sometimes the sun climbed and fell without registering urgency. Sometimes a single breath felt vast enough to hold him completely. Silence had done what training never could. It had removed the audience. With no one to impress, not even himself, the ego weakened. It no longer had structure to cling to, no achievement to chase, no failure to dramatize. It thrashed at first, inventing discomfort, amplifying memory, projecting fear. But without response, it grew tired. Ancient Zen teachings describe this as the exhaustion of the grasping mind. Neuroscience observes the same outcome. Sustained attention without reaction leads to decreased default mode activity. The brain learns that it does not need to narrate constantly to survive. The warrior felt this as relief, not pleasure, not peace. The constant pressure to become something dissolved. What remained was simple and undeniable. He was here, breathing, upright, alive. In that simplicity, attention sharpened. He began to notice subtle rhythms, the micro-adjustments of posture, the precise moment breath turned from inhale to exhale, the faint sounds of forest life previously drowned out by internal noise. Each sensation arrived fully formed, without demand. This was presence, not concentration forced by will, but awareness stabilized by acceptance. When the mentor finally returned, he did not speak at first. He sat opposite the warrior, close enough to share breath, distant enough to require no interaction. They remained like this for a long time. Then the mentor asked one question: where did the noise go? The warrior considered carefully. It still comes, he said, but it no longer commands. The mentor nodded. Attention is a muscle, he said. Neglected, it weakens. Distracted, it fragments. Trained, it becomes strength. He gestured to the mountain. This was never about silence. It was about endurance. Can you remain with what is, without fleeing, fixing, or feeding the ego? The warrior understood then. The ancient system was not mystical. It was practical. Silence was not sacred. It was strategic. By removing stimulation, the mind was forced to reorganize around presence rather than reaction. What emerged was not emptiness, but coherence. Later, as they descended the path together, the warrior felt different, not lighter but denser. Rooted, his steps were deliberate, his gaze steady. When he returned to the courtyard, blade in hand, others noticed immediately. His movements had slowed, but carried undeniable weight. Each strike began and ended in stillness. Breath led motion, not the other way around. The mentor watched the exchange carefully. The warrior no longer chased speed. He allowed timing to reveal itself. Where he once reacted, he now waited. Where he once anticipated, he responded. Modern physiology would describe this as improved reaction efficiency. The ancients called it mastery. After training, the mentor spoke once more. "Silence has given you something," he said. "Now you must protect it." The warrior bowed deeply. He knew the trial was not over. Presence was not a destination. It was a discipline. Fragile if neglected, formidable if guarded. Distraction would return. Ego would adapt. Fear would attempt new disguises. But now, the warrior had learned to stay. And what remains, when nothing else is fed, becomes unbreakable. With presence forged in silence, the warrior now faced the final sacrifice, the death of the divided self that still clung to old identities. The warrior returned to the courtyard changed, but not finished. Silence had sharpened his presence, yet the old habits waited patiently, like dormant embers. They did not attack all at once. They whispered. They offered familiar rewards, speed, recognition, the comfort of being seen as formidable. On his first day back, the eyes were on him. Other warriors noticed the stillness in his movement, the grounded way he stood before striking, the absence of hurry. Some admired it, others doubted it. And in that attention, the ego stirred. "Show them," it said. "Prove what you have gained." The warrior felt the pull immediately. This was the most dangerous moment of transformation, the return to environment before identity has fully reformed. Modern psychology calls this relapse vulnerability. Ancient systems understood it without naming it. When the old self senses extinction, it fights hardest. During sparring, the warrior felt it rise, the urge to accelerate, to add unnecessary force, to reclaim the thrill of domination. His breath shortened, his shoulders lifted, presence wavered. The mentor struck the ground with his staff. Once, the sound cut through the moment like a bell. "Stop," he said. The warriors froze. The mentor faced the young warrior directly. His voice was calm, final. "You're trying to be two men," he said. "One who seeks mastery, one who seeks admiration." Silence followed. The mentor continued. "They cannot share the same body." The words landed heavily. In ancient warrior traditions, the divided self was considered more dangerous than any enemy. One part of the mind obeys discipline, the other seeks reward. The result is internal conflict, cognitive load, inefficiency. Modern neuroscience confirms it. Competing goals fracture attention and degrade performance under pressure. The warrior bowed, not in shame but in recognition. The mentor gave only one instruction: train as if no one is watching. From that day forward, the conditions changed. No demonstrations, no public matches, no praise. The warrior trained at the edges of the courtyard, often alone. Movements slow, breath deliberate. Each strike began with stillness and ended in silence. When impatience arose, he stayed. When doubt surfaced, he observed. When the desire to impress appeared, he let it pass without feeding it. This was not heroic, it was humbling. Some days felt like regression. His speed dropped, his power seemed diminished. The ego panicked. You are losing what you built. The mentor addressed this only once. What feels like loss is integration, he said. You are removing what was never yours. In Stoic thought, this is the surrender of externals. In Zen, it is the shedding of false form. In modern terms, it is identity consolidation, aligning behavior with intrinsic values rather than external validation. The warrior began to feel a new kind of strength emerge. Not explosive, not dramatic, stable. His breath anchored his movement. His attention no longer split between execution and evaluation. When he struck, there was no second voice commenting. Action arose cleanly, without residue. One evening, sparring with a senior warrior known for speed, the moment revealed itself. The opponent rushed, aggressive and sharp. The young warrior did not retreat. He did not counter immediately. He waited, a fraction of a second, then moved. The exchange ended quietly. No flourish, no dominance, just precision. Those watching felt it, not excitement but certainty. The mentor closed his eyes briefly. The divided self was weakening, but it was not yet dead. And in that final unraveling of ego, the warrior approached the moment where presence itself would become the path. The days that followed were quiet, but rigorous. Each morning, the warrior rose before the sun, not to impress, not to compete, but to confront himself. The courtyard became a mirror of discipline. Each movement, each strike, each breath a small test. Would the divided self assert itself, or would presence hold? Sometimes the ego whispered like a shadow, faster, harder, look at them, show them. The warrior felt its pull and did not resist with force. He simply returned to breath, to posture, to the moment. The old self, starved of its usual rewards, began to fade, not through conflict but through neglect. During sparring, the difference was undeniable. His strikes no longer sought approval. They sought the natural outcome of alignment. Speed was irrelevant. Power was irrelevant. Only connection between mind and body remained. Each movement flowed from presence. Each attack arose from calm. The courtyard itself seemed to recognize it. Even the wind through bamboo carried a softer rhythm. The mentor observed quietly. Strength is not added, he said finally. It is uncovered. What distracts, what seeks applause, what claims superiority, it must be released. Only then can mastery breathe. The warrior understood this viscerally. Transformation demanded subtraction before addition. All that was unnecessary, all that fragmented attention, all that inflated ego, these had to die. On the 10th day, a final test arrived. The senior warriors arranged a free-form sparring session. All eyes watched. All expectations rose. The warrior moved differently, no longer chasing recognition, no longer fleeing silence. He was neither fastest nor flashiest. He was deliberate, rooted, calm. Every strike precise, every block measured, every breath integrated. He did not react to provocation. He did not anticipate reward. He existed fully in the exchange. The difference was palpable. Opponents hesitated. Observers leaned forward unconsciously. The mentor's hand rested lightly on the staff, silent approval in posture alone. When the session ended, the young warrior lowered his blade slowly. No triumph, no display, just presence, just mastery quietly acknowledged. The divided self, once insistent and loud, now lingered faintly, a memory, not a master. The warrior had survived the dissolution. What remained was disciplined spirit, calm, grounded, unshakable. Strength born from attention, not performance. Power born from presence, not ego. The mentor approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. Yourself no longer divides, it is whole. But remember, distraction will return, ego will adapt, fear will wear new masks. You must guard what has been forged. The warrior bowed, silently acknowledging the truth. Transformation is never permanent. It is a living discipline. What is released returns only to be met again with awareness. But for now, mastery had been tasted. The warrior moved differently. He breathed differently. He acted differently. And in that moment, he understood the final lesson of the courtyard. To be whole, the warrior must continually choose presence over performance, attention over admiration, reality over illusion. With the ego's surrender complete, the warrior now steps fully onto the path where presence itself becomes the ultimate weapon and the living way. The morning air was sharp, tinged with frost, carrying the distant call of a hawk across the ridge. The courtyard smelled of damp earth and worn wood. A challenge awaited the warrior, not announced, not ceremonial, but inevitable. His opponent was younger, faster, known for ferocity rather than control. Every eye in the compound turned to witness the encounter. Whispers filled the space, yet the warrior did not hear them, not fully. He had learned to be elsewhere, not absent but fully present. The match began without fanfare. The opponent charged immediately, blade swinging, movements jagged but potent. Many would have matched force with force. Many would have fragmented, reacted, rushed. Not him. He inhaled slowly, exhaled deliberately, each muscle waiting, each nerve alert. The first clash rang out, metallic and precise. The opponent expected resistance, he found calm. Each strike he launched met intention, not panic. Timing arrived naturally, without anticipation. Breath aligned with motion, mind with body. Modern neuroscience might call it flow state, complete absorption in action, where distractions vanish, perception heightens, and reaction becomes seamless. Ancient warriors called it presence, not a technique to be learned, but a living condition to be sustained. The opponent's aggression increased, faster, louder, yet the warrior remained unshaken. He did not accelerate. He did not react impulsively. Each strike he delivered carried the quiet weight of deliberate thought made flesh. The courtyard seemed to slow around him, a sudden pause. The opponent lunged, a flash of speed. The warrior sidestepped with perfect economy, guiding momentum rather than opposing it. The encounter ended in a heartbeat, as clean and inevitable as dawn. He lowered his blade, not triumphantly, not violently, but with calm acknowledgement. Presence had won where speed, force, and distraction would have failed. The mentor stepped forward, finally breaking the long silence. "Do you understand?" he asked, voice steady. "Presence is not a practice. It is the path itself. Discipline, silence, focus, they were never separate. They were a system, integrated, alive, demanding your full attention." The warrior bowed, not only in respect but in comprehension. Strength alone had never been the goal. Mastery was the alignment of mind, body, and spirit. Every previous trial, the fractured blade, fear, silence, the death of the divided self, had been preparation. And now the path revealed itself. Life, action, challenge, all navigated with the same clarity, the same attention, the same presence. The warrior's transformation was complete, not through force, but through mastery of the self. Yet the lesson, subtle and profound, was only fully understood when he stepped beyond the courtyard. After the decisive encounter, the courtyard fell into quiet reverence. The warriors around him lowered their eyes, sensing the shift, not in skill alone, but in something deeper, invisible, yet unmistakable. The young warrior did not feel superior. He felt aligned, balanced, whole. The mentor motioned for him to walk beside him. Together, they moved to the edge of the compound, where the mountains opened into vast valleys, mist curling like slow-moving water. "Look," the mentor said, "do you see the path?" The warrior looked, seeing winding trails, streams and cliffs. But the mentor's words were not about geography. The path is within. Attention, presence, discipline, they are the road, the compass, the terrain. Mastery is not arriving at a place, but navigating every moment fully. Every encounter, every breath, every thought becomes part of the journey. The warrior inhaled. The cold air filled his lungs. He felt the lesson resonate not as instruction, but as lived truth. His entire training, every trial, every struggle with distraction and fear, every encounter with silence and ego had been a preparation for this understanding. Modern research would describe it as the integration of cognitive control, emotional regulation, and motor coordination, the nervous system aligned with intention. Ancient systems describe the same reality poetically. The warrior who masters attention wields life itself. The mentor stopped. He looked at the warrior steadily. "Guard it," he said. "Attention is the most precious weapon. Once lost, mastery dissolves. Once scattered, strength fractures. Discipline, silence, presence, they are inseparable. They are life lived as it must be, without division, without surrender to distraction." The young warrior bowed again. This time it was not ritual, it was acknowledgement. The ego had no claim here, only clarity, only alignment. He understood that mastery was not a destination, not an achievement to display. It was the ongoing practice of remaining present when the world tempted him to fragment, when fear disguised itself as urgency, when the mind whispered for indulgence. As he lifted his gaze, he felt the integration of all lessons. The fractured blade reforged, fear seen and met, silence endured, the divided self surrendered. Presence was no longer practice. Presence was being. He turned toward the mountains, toward the path that would carry him beyond the compound, beyond observation, beyond fear and distraction. Every step grounded, every breath aligned, every thought attended. This was mastery. This was freedom. This was the warrior's path. The mentor's final words echoed, though softly, like wind through bamboo. Mastery belongs to those who guard their attention as fiercely as their life. And the warrior walked forward, whole, disciplined, present. The embodiment of the ancient system realized, not in ceremony or display, but in the quiet, unwavering alignment of mind, body, and spirit. Presence is the path, attention is the weapon, mastery is the life fully lived.